7th race of the season for the 410 Sprint Cars at Mansfield Motor Speedway. 30 laps the distance. The Hoseheads.com Midweek Madness feature event is underway. Danny Dietrich from outside of row number 1 going to lead the field into turn number 1, off of turn number 2, down the back straightaway. Chase Dietz giving chase. Dietrich through the middle, exits high of 4. 48 car leads lap number 1. Chase Dietz top side with a big run off of turn number 2. Watch him down the back straightaway into turn number 3. Things closing up there at the front of the field. Dietrich, your leader. Dietz runs second. Brock Searfoss third. Anthony Macri hanging right with him in fourth. Macri now able to make the move around Searfoss for the third position. 39M car moving forward. Tyler Ross, car number 5, rounds out your top 5. Danny Dietrich puts the 7 of Aiden Borden a lap down. Despite a little bobble of miscue in turn number 4 last time by, Dietz staying right with your leader, not allowing the 48 to get away. 10 laps scored, 20 remaining for your leader, Danny Dietrich. Danny Dietrich moves by the 6 of Cole Knapp. Anthony Macri up over the cushion so as to avoid contact with the 6, and that's going to cost him. Meanwhile, Chase Dietz closing on your leader, 48 100ths of a second, the gap between first and second last time by. Dietrich off of turn number 4, back to the stripe to complete lap number 13, 17 remaining. Dietrich up the banking in 1 and 2, Dietz around the bottom, exits through the middle. The fact that Danny Dietrich is not able to get away here tonight, well, that bodes well for Chase Dietz. But catching him's one thing, passing him's another. Dietrich 44 100ths of a second in front of Chase Dietz in the 23. Anthony Macri third in the 39M. Brock Searfoss fourth in the 3Z. Fifth, the 5 of Tyler Ross. 6th through 10th, the 75 of Cameron Smith. The 33 of Gerard McIntyre Jr. 99M, Kyle Moody. 41, Logan Rumsey. 1A, Ashton Torgerson. Anthony Macri now up to the top of the speedway to the outside of Chase Dietz. Got him. Macri into that runner-up position. He'll set his sights on your leader. 13 laps remaining. Does the 39M have enough juice? Does he have enough time? Macri able to shave a 1/10 of a second off the lead that time around. Top 5 unchanged. Dietrich goes to the top this time. Macri exits off the middle of turn number 4. 20 laps scored, 10 remaining for your leader, Danny Dietrich. Oh my, 3 wide into turn number 3 as Dietrich goes to the outside of the 18J of JT Ferry and the 7 of Aiden Borden. What a move that was. 9 laps remaining for your leader, Danny Dietrich. Macri closing 37 100ths of a second. The gap that time by. 48 and a 39M topside through 3 and 4. 4 to go. Laps are running out for the 39M. Anthony Macri is going to make a move. He's going to have to pull the trigger soon. Dietrich to the bottom of 3 and 4. Macri rims the top. He'll carry that momentum down the front straightaway. He moves to the bottom of 1 and 2. Dietrich exits off the top side. Anthony Macri with a run. Off the bottom of 2. Watch him into 3. Bid for the lead. Here comes the slider. 39M over the nose at the 48. Anthony Macri, your new race leader. Hello. My goodness, how gutsy was that? Macri off of turn number 4. Can he hold the point? Dietrich off the bottom. Macri off the top. White flag waves. Final time around. Anthony Macri, your leader. Well, what a move to put the 39M out in front as he sails it to the top side of 3 and 4. Back to the stripe, career win number 6 at Perris Auto Speedway for Anthony Macri. Danny Dietrich is second, third to 23 of Chase Dietz.
SprintCarUnlimited.com coming to you from Mansfield Speedway special Wednesday show. We're with second place finisher Danny Dietrich. Danny led most of the race. He just got you late.
Yeah.
Close slider in turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, just we were good early, too early. Just wasn't good enough at the end. I mean, couldn't get off the corners, and Anthony was just better than I was. So lucky to finish second, considering he put me in the redraw. I don't know.
Track was fast. You were able to set a pretty good pace early. What changed there through the middle and the closing stages of the race?
It just got really dirty on the exits of the corners. And 1 and 2, I was okay. I could carry enough speed through the corner to get me off the corner. But 3 and 4, I started searching. The bottom got narrow. Got dirty up on the straightaway. Just, I was struggling turn 4. It's not very often that we struggle, but I know exactly what we did wrong for the end of it. I know what I would change, and that's a plus.
When you're not good, still finish second. That says a lot about your team and where you guys are at right now.
Yeah, I mean, but there's 17 cars here. You know, we got to get more cars here. Put on a better show for the fans. Hopefully, if he does this on a Wednesday again, it's not, the first week of school. It's not last minute, and it's not, when we already got 4-race weekend coming up. It's unfortunate, but at this point, I wish he would have canceled. I don't like running second.
I thought that was going to be a problem. 4 races over the weekend. It's just a lot of racing for fans and drivers.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of racing. You're keeping me here longer than I want to be, and it is what it is. We'll keep plugging away.
Going into the weekend, got to be looking forward to just a lot of
racing. It is
racing.
the weekend, Jeremy. Anytime you start racing.
No, it's not the weekend. It's Wednesday. You got 4 races this week. Are you going to run all 4, right?
Yeah, unless something happens, we might load up early.
We don't skip out on races. We got to work today.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you got
here we are hanging out with you, and we all got to go to work tomorrow morning.
You don't work. Come on, you don't work.
Absolutely. I got my car ready. Bill's got his car ready. I got to go to work, cover his ass.
I thought
he works on his car.
I thought he carried the load there at Racers Used Parts Warehouse.
No, I just, we got a chance to get out here early, which is nice, but, the track is a production of only having 17 cars and no support division, so I'm sure it was a good race for the fans. It wasn't very good for the guy who was leading and ended up second, so it could be worse.
Well, I'm going to let you get out of here.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy.
Yep. SprintCarUnlimited.com coming from Perris Auto Speedway, special Wednesday edition, and we're here with winner Anthony Macri. Anthony, you look really good tonight. That's not really BAPS for you. You know, we talk about this all the time. When you beat the Outlaws here, and tonight you looked every bit as good as you did that night, it seemed like.
Yeah, I'm typically suck here. I'll say it. We're normally a 4th to 7th place car, but I don't know. Normally when this place has like a good bit of moisture in it, like the Outlaw show, we're pretty good. And I don't know. I mean, it slipped off and got really dirty there at the end, but it still felt like I had a really good car that, I could put in anywhere I really wanted to. And I tried to kind of fish Danny around to get him off the line where he was running, and he strayed from it a couple times, but wasn't able to capitalize on the times that he did do it. But I can't really remember what happened in 1 and 2, the lap that I got to him and slid him going into 3 and 4, but I knew that I went to the bottom, kind of got a good run, and I don't know if he got messed up with a lap car or what happened, but I knew going into 3 and 4 with being that close to him, I knew that was my only shot. And I threw it in there, and there was a bump. I didn't think it was going to be that close, honestly. We touched. I'm sure he knows it was non-intentional, even though he probably gave me shit just to start shit. But I don't know. We have respect for each other. I mean, we race each other really hard, and when we race each other really hard, a little bump along the road is going to happen. So I don't know. It's just good hard racing. I felt like I drove my ass off for 30 laps, and it was a little bit of a dogfight trying to, play chess with him, and ultimately it paid off, thankfully.
Well, he didn't say anything bad about you. He said
that's good.
Yeah. He said he was laboring around there. It just weren't good at the end, and he was moving around trying to get better. But you were able to capitalize that. It wasn't easy to pass. So, I mean, if you were going to throw it in with the run you got off to, it had to be at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I could kind of feel like as dirty as the track got at the end, I could kind of see that his car wasn't, kind of as plugged into the track as it was in the beginning, and just I could see him spinning tires, and I was honestly kind of in the same situation. It's just I was in a position where I could try something, and I got my wing back, and I just kind of got planted into the track a little bit more than he did, especially in the top of 3 and 4. I felt like that was kind of where I could make a lot of ground, and I know how he probably felt, and I felt kind of the same way. It's just I was in the position where I could try something, and I could benefit from it, or I could lose from it. So thankfully I benefited from it, and I don't know, just can't thank these guys enough for working really hard tonight. It was a fast pace, obviously, with the amount of cars and everything, but it's just these guys work really hard and give me a car, and it's just up to me not to mess it up.
I talked to you at Lincoln over the weekend. You said it just need to be better. Is this kind of what you were looking for, as you progress toward the Tuscarora 50? I mean, obviously you got 4 nights coming up, or 3, wherever you run. But is this kind of what you were looking for moving forward?
Yeah. I mean, we were good tonight, but I feel like this place is so different than everywhere else we run in Pennsylvania. It's just, I don't know, you do different stuff to the car here that doesn't really work anywhere else. But I mean, obviously a win's going to help the morale and confidence of the team. Not that it was low, but I mean, a win helps no matter what. So we just ultimately just got to fine tune a couple things, and I can't say we even tried anything tonight because we didn't. I think we just added fuel and changed tires all night long. But I don't know. Yeah, we're getting better.
Where do you go this week? It's kind of hard. You got 2 $10,000 to win shows at Lincoln. You got Port Royal, which obviously get laps for the 50. It's tough for teams to maybe negotiate that or reason with that where to go on Saturday night. How do you kind of approach a weekend like this where obviously you're at the Grove, you have 2 at Lincoln, you have Port twice. I mean, how do you kind of put the schedule together this weekend?
I think that's still in motion right now. I don't know that anything's set in stone. Mainly where we go Saturday, and where we go Saturday is kind of a result of where we go Monday. Whether we don't go anywhere Monday or we go to Port Royal Monday. But I don't know. 2 $10,000 to win races is pretty enticing, but I mean at the same time, Port Royal is kind of important, and we need some laps there, I feel, even though we're normally pretty good there no matter what the track conditions are. But I don't know. I think that's a discussion that gets brought up tomorrow at the shop, but I can't even tell you which way we're leaning for Saturday. I don't know. Is
the most important thing just having clean laps wherever you go? Just clean laps and get better and show speed.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like anytime we're on the track, it's a chance to get better and fine tune our stuff. I mean, I'm not going to say we're off by any means, but there's always room for improvement. But I don't know. I legitimately don't know. I mean, Saturday's a tough one as to where to go. I mean, obviously, both places are important, and
just hope to win wherever you go.
Yeah, obviously the goal is to win no matter where we go. we'll see.
Well, enjoy tonight. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the SprintCarUnlimited.com live show. I appreciate everybody tuning in. If you're looking to call into the show instead of ask a question through the chat, you can go to 1-844-543-8589. Before we jump in here, I'm going to hit some of the storylines that occurred over the last week. You know, the big story of the weekend was Rico Abreu sweeping the Skagit Nationals. He banked over $150,000 for his efforts, plus took over the owners and the drivers' championship point lead for High Limit. And oh, by the way, he heads to Port Royal this week, a track he's pretty good at, looks to defend his Tuscarora 50 title, and, again, hopes to extend that lead over Brad Sweet and Ridge & Sons Racing. Back in central Pennsylvania, it's easy to see that Anthony Macary's the fastest car in the region. He won at Perris Auto Speedway and Williams Grove over the weekend. Probably could have won at Lincoln. He was leading when Ashton Torgerson pulled a slider. I think it spooked Macary a little bit, and he got up in the fluff and might have grazed the wall, spun out. Ashton Torgerson went on to win the event, but he was 13 pounds light at the scales, so we can talk about that if you want. But Macary has $480,000. He's third on the earnings list in the country. So obviously he's one of the best in the sport. The World of Outlaws got one of two in at Houston Speedway. No surprise, Buddy Kofoid passes Carson Macedo and David Gravel to get the win. He's over $726,000 this year. Big lead over the rest of the field, almost $200,000 more than second place Rico Abreu. And it was his 10th World of Outlaws win of the season, 11th overall. And the funny thing is, it's all Kofoid, Gravel, and Macedo with the World of Outlaws right now. I just saw a stat today. They've combined for 9 of the last 10 wins, 20 of the last 30 podium spots. They are the 3 best cars in the country right now, in my opinion. So we could talk about that. 360 spins. We can address that. Again, the big 3 in the World of Outlaws, Tuscarora 50, whatever you guys want to hit on. So start firing away. All right. What do we got? Jeremy, what motor did Logan Seavey run in his win at Calistoga in the non-wing race on Sunday with with Paul Silva? You know, that's a good question. I don't know. I know they use riders, so maybe it might have been a rider. I have no idea. I was not at Calistoga, so I'm not really sure what motor they ran. Who do you think might be looking into a franchise if teams sell theirs after this year? Obviously, we've heard about the second 7BC entry. I think that's something that could materialize and obviously be one. I think there's some other cars out there that might, or other teams who might want to run High Limit. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the 18 is up in the air what they're going to do next year. I don't see the 2 or the 83, definitely not. Look, I think a lot of it depends on what the World of Outlaws come up with as far as trying to match the franchise system from High Limit. I think that's going to determine if anybody else jumps. So It hasn't been released yet. I know they said something at Knoxville about matching it. But until I see something on paper, it's going to be difficult to project any World of Outlaws teams jumping ship. Do you have an opinion on Lincoln's virtual flagman? It seems to be getting a lot of attention again after this weekend. I didn't really care at the beginning. Look, I understand what it does. You don't have to pay a person to be your flagman, even though that seems like a minimal amount. Here's the problem with it. As is the case that we saw at Lincoln this week with Danny Dietrich and the 360. And then they said they couldn't confirm the caution, which is mind-blowing to me. Because in 48 years of watching dirt track racing, I've never heard that. But having two guys in the flag stand, or even one guy in the flag stand, it's an extra set of eyes. And the one problem with the virtual flagman is that you don't get those extra set of eyes, number one. Number two, and I was thinking about this actually sitting at Lincoln, if you're going to black flag somebody and their radio doesn't work, what do? What's the procedure in place to make that happen? So again, there's issues with it. Now Lincoln's it's worked for the most part. I wouldn't say maybe this week it was great because obviously they missed the 360. So I don't know. I think it's still a moving target. I do not expect tracks to do it. I do not expect tracks to go to that. I know that was one of the things that the management at Lincoln told me was they expect other tracks to go to it, and I just don't expect that to happen. But we'll see. Glad to see Brock Zerfoss get a win at Port Royal. Great finish and looked like a pretty good crowd for Labor Day. Yeah, I don't like to judge it by shooting down from the top on a stream because that's not a fair indication. It's like when you're showing it from the side. It's not a fair indication. That's how you cover up a lot of aluminum. But I heard the crowd was decent, and they usually always get a good infield crowd for that. I mean, I was not there. I had some family stuff that I was doing. So I don't know about the crowd. As for Brock, yeah, it's weird. I'm trying to get him on the podcast for tomorrow. I thought he'd have 5 wins this year, at least 5 to 7. In fact, Ryan Hand and I just did our podcast, and he said the same thing, and it just hasn't materialized. They've struggled to lead laps. And for them to break through at Port Royal, I mean, the timing's perfect. They're going into the Tuscarora 50 this week. So maybe they, work some things out. And the good news for them, it wasn't like it was locked down and they just started on the pole and led. They passed Chase Dietz and Zerfoss passed Parker Price Miller in the last lap. So a good win and much needed. In your opinion, after this weekend, did Rico and Buddy take over as the top 2 teams in sprint car racing? No, not in my mind. I think Gravel has, what is it, some stupid number of 19 straight top 5s or whatever it is. I have to count them up, but it's a lot. And he has the wins. He just hasn't won a big race, which is why the money obviously isn't as high as, say, Buddy or Rico or even Anthony Macri. So remember, before the Skagit Nationals, Rico had 5 races where he had 1 top 10. David Gravel never does that. That just doesn't happen. Wins are important. I mean, Rico's obviously one of the top 5 teams in the sport right now. If I was ranking teams and drivers doing a top 25 right now, David Gravel would still be number 1. Buddy'd be 2, Rico would be 3, probably. And Carson Macedo 4, and then 5. I'd have to look at it. But no, David Gravel still has top 5s. He's in the mix every night. He still has double-digit wins. It's just the top 5s are alarming. The consistency is alarming. I can't discount that. What food are you looking forward to the most this week at the fair? The turkey dinner, ham dinner. It's the church stand. It's what you do during fair week. Aaron Reutzel's back this weekend at Port. Do you think he will be a contender to win, or will he be affected by his injury? I've waffled back and forth on this. Again, we taped our first 2 segments of the podcast today, and Ryan and I both cautiously optimistic. Aaron's coming off an injury. I don't think anybody knows the severity or the pain level that, first off, he has, and second, that he can endure. So I think it could be a pain management thing. And can he be a contender? He's really good at Port Royal. Yes, he can be a contender. I am concerned about the injury and how far along he's going to be. So I don't know. Time will tell. I mean, we'll know more Thursday. How will Donnie Schatz adapt with Paul Silva? I think he'll be fine. Donnie's been around. He hasn't had a ton of crew chiefs. 4 or 5 maybe in his career. I think he had Tyler Swank, he had Ricky Warner, he had, obviously Scuba, he had Todd Devnich. So I mean, he's had a handful. Paul's going to work. Look, Paul's good. He's going to be able to work with him. I think the more interesting thing is how he's going to fare on the West Coast. Spencer Basin did decent in that car, so the expectation's going to be high. And I just, Donnie has struggled on the West Coast at times. And obviously jumping in the car, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. And the mob, or what I call the mob, has high expectations. They expect him to do as well as Baston, if not better. So it's a little something to live up to. Did you get a chance to see Lance's breast cancer awareness pink livery for the Tusky looking fine? I have not seen it yet. I have not. I kind of checked out on Monday. I probably shouldn't have, I guess. And I just back in the swing of the things today and trying to get a podcast done and get everything, done by Thursday. So I've not seen it. I'll check it out. With no race in Northern California this year, do you think Calistoga gets an outlaw race next year, or do they go high limit, or do they just stay with NARC? I think it's a stretch to get a World of Outlaws event there. I think it's a stretch to get high limit there. I guess maybe they had track trouble this week. The facility looked, for everything I was told, so I got a call today. The facility looked good. Ryan talked about that as well on the podcast. But the track conditions weren't as good. So I don't know if the infrastructure is there for a national touring race. I would say NARC, they'll stick with NARC until they get back to where they were. And if they even want to, I mean, the other thing is the sanction fee and the total purse for a high limit and World of Outlaws event, it's pretty high. I don't know if a track that's part-time like that wants to pop that much money. You're looking at $100,000, $120,000 all in. And I don't know if Calistoga is going to want to do that. I know there's more money in the sport, but doesn't it seem kind of top heavy and it's not being spread around? What are your thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I think there's certain events that are top heavy. I think now Joseph Terrell, who did a good job doing our West Coast stuff, especially the Skagit Gold Cup, he covered it for SprintCarUnlimited.com. He made reference to it in a notebook he posted today on SprintCarUnlimited.com about the number of guys. I think there were 6 guys or 5 or 6 guys who made 5 figures at Skagit. I believe it was 3,000 to start. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure. Look, it's getting better. Could it be better than it is? Yeah. Does it need to be better? Yeah. I think we need to, like the Grove, for instance. I talked about this a few weeks ago. Somebody said it's got to get to 100,000. Why? 75,000 is fine. If you're going to raise it, put that 25,000 down below. If you raise it to 100,000, you're not going to get one more car. Whereas if you put it down below, maybe do a B main, something like that, that will draw more competitors. Maybe you can go back to 3 days in split field, which I personally like. So I definitely think they need to, it's something that needs to be looked at, I think. But here's the problem too. If a sponsor comes in and wants to give you, 25,000, like say in the case of Williams Grove, and they want it up top, that's where it's going to go. So I wonder sometimes if the sponsor's controlling where it goes, and you're not going to turn down a sponsor in today's age. So I think there's a lot of moving parts, but yes, I do think some races definitely need to pay better down through. And look, that's why the Knoxville Nationals is highly regarded. And that's why you get 100 cars every year. What do you think of Sheldon punching an official? That's a suspension. If we're going to look, it's what it is. If you punch an official in any other league, in any other sport, you get a suspension. That should be a suspension. You can't put your hands on officials. Officials can't put their hands on you. If they do that if they're not defending themselves, fired. That's it. It's non-negotiable to me. Either or, on either side. It's non-negotiable. These all-star races have been sneaky good lately. Plus top 4 in points only separated by 30. Are people missing out by not watching these races? I've actually watched some of these all-star races, and they're pretty good. Jedrzejek came from 10th at Wayne County. Now, Cap Henry, owned Attica, but he's owned Attica all year. He led all 71 laps over 2 days. Like I said, a green-white checker. But the all-star races have been entertaining. And I like what they're doing with their schedule. I like what the all-stars, I don't want them to increase to 50 races. I don't think that's what they are. I think some people don't watch it because it doesn't have the star power. And this sport is driven by the stars. If you take out in Central PA Weekly, if you take out Chase Dietz, Danny Dietrich, Anthony Macri, Freddie Raymer, it's not going to, I think you're going to have an attendance problem if people know ahead of time. So I think that's why they maybe don't watch. But yes, the racing's been really good. And look, I say this all the time. David Gravel wasn't always David Gravel. I remember when he ran the 89G. Now you could see he had talent, but he wasn't a World of Outlaws driver. He made his way up through the ranks. So we don't know if one of these guys is going to develop into, a driver who's with High Limit or who's with the World of Outlaws. So, but they put on some bangers. Do you think there are too many races in Central PA? Yes. Yes. I definitely, here's something interesting. So, and this is hint, going to be a 90 at 9 at some point. The 3 tracks in Central Pennsylvania, the 3 main sprint car tracks. Williams Grove has 30 shows, 410 shows. These are strictly 410s. Port Royal has 27, and Lincoln has 34. I would like to see every one of them get in that Port Royal range of 27, 28, somewhere in there. I just think weekly racing isn't it. Something's got to be done with it. It's not profitable. And look, if a racetrack gets a sponsor, that's great. If a sponsor gives them 10,000 and on a given night where the sponsor's giving them 10,000, they're in the black by 5,000, that's a loss. To me, that's a loss because you're 5,000 in the hole at the gate. So I do believe that there's a problem with weekly racing where it's every week. And I would like to see Central PA get in that 27, 28 range at the big 3 tracks. Jeremy, is McIntosh going to run the other Roth Motorsports 83 entry at the World of Outlaws races in California? I don't know if he's going to do that. I mean, he still has, I think, his commitments with USAC. I know he's running the NARC race. I don't know how much McIntosh wants to do. I've heard conflicting things on this. I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up at the Roth Classic. Obviously, it's the Roth Classic. You'd have Buddy there. I could see, having the second entry there. The whole World of Outlaws swing? No, because they're going to be at Votto, and he's not going to be at Votto. So I think you could see maybe a spot race here and there. Somebody told me that it's all of next year, and I don't see that happening. That team went home for a reason. And why would they give up a charter or a franchise, excuse me, and to keep it at home and then come back out with another car? That just seems foolish. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have a couple more races out there, but I don't think it'll be a full-time deal. Lance will win the Tusky 50 if he times well. Well, okay. He's been fast at Port, and I think he's going to be in the mix. As far as, the Weikert, I think he's the only driver who finished in the top 3 both nights? So Lance is quick at Port Royal. It's going to be it could be him and Macri carrying the banner for the locals. I wouldn't surprise me at all. King Speedway in Hanford went silent this year. Do you hear anything about racing coming back? I've heard 0. In fact, I've heard more tracks could be in trouble in California. Now, again, I'm not out there. It's like anything until I can confirm something. I don't really, I don't want to say put much credence in it, but I just don't, I'm not going to write about it. So that's on something there's a story out there that I'm working on. But I have not heard about anything with Kings coming back. Are there any dead racetracks that you'd like to see revived? Ooh. Beaver Dam is supposed to go away. And I was at Beaver Dam this year, and I thought it was really good. I enjoyed going to Beaver Dam. So it's not dead yet, although I think it's going to be. I used to like Silver Springs in Central PA. It was good Saturday night racing at a cheaper price. And the sprint cars would go there for Speed Week, and it was an entertaining show. Like, they get massive crowd for that thing. Penn National was put on some good shows. In fact, Penn National is the first track I ever went to. And they had sprint cars there. I remember Smokey Snellbaker in the Lloyd car in the Hardee's sponsorship. So yeah, there's a few. There's a few. Do we see any surprise entries for the Tusky? I haven't seen any yet. I know Ryan Timms is coming in. That should be, that's a good get. I know Parker Price Miller's coming in for it. He was prepping this week. But those are expected. I don't know of any surprise entries. The World of Outlaws are on the West Coast. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we get a Midwest guy, but I don't think there'll be a wow factor. Trey Starks is going to be in the 14. I think that's going to be interesting to see Trey back in Central Pennsylvania. So, but other than that, I don't see it. Will Brady Bacon be racing this weekend at Port Royal? I assume so. I mean, he's been running the Dyson car with Shawn Michael, and it wouldn't make sense to not race here for a big weekend like this. So I would expect him to be here. Get off the porch, Jeremy. Northern Sprint Car Nationals, Oswego. Ever consider attending this show? Yeah. I mean, look, I've heard a lot of great things about Oswego. I get off the porch enough, though. I was at Wisconsin this year. I've been at Eldora, Knoxville every year. I go to World Finals every year. I was at Las Vegas this year, and there could be another trip coming up. So, and then next year, going to plan some different things next year. But Oswego, unfortunately, my passport expired, so I'd have to renew my passport. And but it's definitely a bucket list track to go to. Who would be a good replacement for World of Outlaws race director? The clown they have now is way over his head. Not just my opinion, but multiple teams and the owners meeting at Knoxville with him was a joke. Yeah, I've heard some things about this. I heard some rumblings. As far as who to do it, I mean, there's guys out there. I mean, it's a thankless job. Look, don't kid yourself. It's not an easy job. No matter what decisions you make, you're going to get yelled at. I have to think about it as far as guys who could do that job. Now, there's a difference between series director and race director. Carlton Reimers is a series director, so there's two different things. But as a race director, I just can't think anybody off the top of my head right now. And if they do, they already have a job. So it's whether they want to give up a job to be with a series on the road that goes coast to coast. So it's a tough sell. Who is your top 3 for Port this weekend and a dark horse to get a top 5? 3? Well, look, my favorites are Rico and Anthony Macri. Those are my favorites. It's only 2. Now, I also have, and I'll be putting more out on this as the week goes on. I'll do favorites, contenders, sleepers. Aaron Reitzel, again, it's going to depend on his injury. If he was fine, healthy, and I knew everything was 100% good, he'd easily be a favorite. Easily. I think Lance is a contender. I think, Dietrich's won the Weikert up there, so, he could be a player. If you're looking for a dark horse, and people don't think about him, but look at Justin Whittall's record against National Touring Series in big events. He's a top 5 guy. He's always float because he times well, and he gets going in EA mains. He's finished in the top 5 at the 50 before. It's a guy to watch. He's a sneaky good in these big races at Port Royal. Flies under the radar. He's quiet. Doesn't get a lot of publicity. Go look at the stats. Justin Whittall, he does a good job when the big money's on the line. Shots to the 22 here on the East Coast. No. I'm hearing other cars for the East Coast. As a fan that discovered dirt track racing locally but grew up watching NASCAR, why don't the sprint car teams run the two-way radios with the spotters? Is it not necessary as it's short track racing? No, there's no spotters. There's no spotters in sprint car racing. The other thing is, I think they don't have two-way radios because the tower doesn't want them jawing with them. Tower says, drivers do. You don't want back and forth. So there's no reason for two-way radios. The Sheldon incident was a head scratcher. If he did, in fact, make contact with an official, he should be suspended, no question. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there. I didn't see it. All I know is what the outlaw stated, which was grabbed the official's helmet. Again, it's all about setting precedent. Now, moving forward, a driver can't be suspended for making contact with an official, regardless of what it is. You've set a bad precedent. It's nothing against Sheldon, but you can't in any sport. That is the one thing you can't do other than gambling on it. You can't touch an official. You see guys in the NFL get tossed out of games even if they just accidentally graze an official. So it's just something that can't happen. Central PA needs AFCS type series between 2-3 tracks, but don't deny that. In fact, I would make it a 40 race deal between, and you pick basically I'd take the hose heads thing, which is really good. And I would take all the tracks, point money, and throw it into a pot and have a 40 race series that goes to all the tracks in this area. And it would be, you wouldn't have to add races. You use the races already on the schedule. Now, and the 40 races, just so it includes more teams. Because let's face it, the hose heads thing is won by the guy who goes to the most races or the teams that go to the most races. So, again, that's why I don't want to add races. They can't take that. But use the races you have and put together a series. Only winner at Lincoln on Sunday was Hoosier Tire, and for the sad for the fans and racers. It wasn't good. It rubbered up in the heat races. They took 65 minutes to rework the track, and it was probably in a 35 lap A main. It was about 15-17 when it rubbered up. So yeah, it wasn't good. I've heard that some teams burned off 7 tires. That's pretty expensive at $385, $390 a pop. So yeah, no, it's not a good night. Jeremy, what's your thoughts on Matt Tiff reviving Mansfield Speedway. Look, for everything I've heard about it and people I've talked to out there, it's good. They're going to resurrect that place. I wish them all the luck. You know, I know they want to do different things, bring in different types of races. So good for him. I have no problem with it. I think it's good, and I've heard they made a lot of progress already. So that tells me they're serious about it. That tells me that Matt is serious about it, which I think is, look, we've all heard of people coming in having big plans and they never materialize. Seems like he's following through, and I wish him all the best. Is shots to a second Roth car a possibility next year? Would he go Toyota? No, I don't think that that's a possibility. Out of the people I've heard, that Roth has never been one in the discussion. I've never heard that. I won't tell you who I have heard, but I'm not. It wasn't Roth. If you win the Powerball, which track will you buy? Which track would I buy? If I was going to buy a racetrack, it would be Williams Grove. It would be Williams Grove if she would sell it, and then there would be some changes. So, but that Williams Grove definitely. Shots to the 69K. I can't see that happening. That Pittman's going to run it at the National Open. They're not going to throw over Pittman for Donnie. And quite honestly, I don't think I mean, no. And I don't think they want to run two teams for that deal. That's muddying the water. I think they'd rather put all their efforts into that one big team, or, you know, to Pittman. So no, I don't see shots to the 69K. Perris in big trouble. They're not doing well. I mean, you can't look. Race fans are. It's a different type of fan. They're not going to pay to park more than they pay to get into the races. That's a problem. So some of the asks out there are tough to swallow. So I think Perris is in a little bit of trouble. Yes. I definitely think they're in a little bit of trouble. Jeremy, I just jumped in. Have you talked to Brian Brown? Is he coming this weekend? You know, it's funny. That's on my list tonight after I get off here. I did not get a chance. I didn't call him over the holiday. I have a tendency to not do that. Plus, I do think from the last I talked to him, he planned to be here. This was roughly 2.5 weeks ago. He said he was going to give it a try. So, you know, I'll probably call him tonight or tomorrow, depending on the time. And I got to do a 90 at 9 tonight. So I will be calling him. Mark Smith's new ride for 2026. I know as of last week's deep dive, he'll be in the Keen car, helping them out, whether it's as a crew chief or whether it's as, you know, driving in spot duty with Kyle, or how they're going to, you know, they're going to negotiate that. But from what he said on the deep dive last week, it's going to be with the Keen team. Shots last California wing came at the toilet bowl. It stopped it. Yeah, I think, wasn't it 2017? Something like that. I'm guessing there, but it's what I thought it was. Yeah, it just hasn't been sharp in California as of late. But look, he's with Silva. He's going to be in a good car. We'll see how it goes. Opinion on Sunday and Monday's races at Lincoln and Port. Boy, Lincoln Saturday night was was interesting. And, Lincoln, look, it was not a good night at Lincoln on Sunday. Tracks have this happen. Let's not pretend that Lincoln's the only track that's rubbered up. Let's not pretend that. Now, that doesn't make the people who paid feel any better, but it's not like I don't think they went out there and said, boy, I hope it rubbers up tonight. I don't think the owners at Lincoln wanted that. That doesn't do them any favors, whether it be for that event or any event at their speedway. So I'm more concerned about the 360 deal. I don't get how that's a lapse somewhere in the tower. You just can't have that, because essentially what that does is you're taking money out of somebody else's pocket. Plain and simple. Yeah, bad call, whatever you want to spin that. You're still taking money out of another driver's pocket. So that was more of a problem for me at Lincoln. The Port Royal, as far as I know, everything was fine. I mean, it's a daylight surface. It looked racy. It's not the first time I've seen the Labor Day Classic racy. I mean, they had lead changes. So couldn't have been all bad. What else do we got? Any thoughts on who will be in the 15 next year? The funny thing about the interesting thing about that is we're talking about Donnie. We're talking about, the 14. We're talking about, the car that's flying under the radar is the 15, which I never thought I would say about Tony Stewart Racing. Now, we could say for different reasons, but I have heard very, very little about the 15. Now, I have recently been told they're close to a driver, announcing a driver. I wouldn't be, somebody like a Baston, maybe. I could see that. I'm not saying Spencer's getting in it. I said somebody like that. And Tony Stewart Racing's very good at being tight-lipped about stuff. I complain to him all the time about it. I complain to Misha. So, I know at one time they really liked Courtney, but but I don't know if that's something that would happen. Tyler Courtney's coming off an injury, significant injury. I don't know if leaving his team is something he's going to want to do, but yeah, I mean, I've talked to people about that, but I keep hearing this second team with 7BC way more than I hear that. Oh, Will, you're the first call of the week. What's up, Will?
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's like over 150 degrees right now, but it's cooling down.
Well, you do live in California.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, basically, the Calistoga show, very much a disappointment on the Friday night, but I'm going to cut them some slack since they haven't been around for 6 years. But it was very disappointing. Not anybody, car owner, drivers, fans were very disappointed on Friday. Saturday was a different story.
Well, first off, can NARC just go one race where there isn't a problem? Something.
No.
Something. Okay.
No.
I'm waiting for.
No, not at all.
I'm waiting for like Bees or Locust to either cancel a show or affect the show or something. It just always seems to be something. I know it was a curfew issue, I guess on Friday. That's what they were saying. I guess there was a 10 p.m. curfew. Is that what it was?
Well, yes, that's what they did say was a 10 o'clock curfew. They went over by 15 minutes.
You got to
because I mean, what are you going to do at 10 o'clock when you only got 6 laps down in your last feature? You can't really, can you?
No, that's a problem. You could, East, over here, East Windsor, not there anymore. East Windsor Speedway ran modifieds. I went to a race once and a modified race there in New Jersey. I drove, I don't know how many hours, 2.5, 3 hours, 3 hours or whatever it is. And my dad and I were sitting there and I was a kid and it was 5 of 10 and they threw the checker right in the middle of the feature and people started leaving. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Here it was a hard curfew and the state police run the racing in New Jersey. So obviously it wasn't a hard curfew out there, so you can stop it, but I guess they didn't want to, and I would assume they're paying.
Well, I think a lot of their problems stemmed from the fact that they tried to start early. I know the curfew at 10 o'clock, everybody knows it. But even if you start like an hour later than what they did, then they're not in the boiling heat. When they went out for wheel pack and they should have hot lapped, the track just went away. It wasn't ready. They weren't ready for for the cars and the track. They fell behind, and luckily, I guess a million people talked to whoever's doing the track and made sure somebody's watering the track all night and all morning until they raced. But the track was definitely better. I mean, the cars sped up. The non-wing cars were in the 22s, and they got down to 20s, and the NARC cars were at 18. They got down to 16. At least a couple of them were.
Yeah. I mean, look, the track sat for how long? You knew the track surface wasn't going to be great. It's
true.
I mean,
but they were able to make enough improvements.
Good.
To get a decent show on Saturday. The race, they got done way before curfew on Saturday, and they ran all the races. Not like on Friday where they cut the heat races out because of all the stuff going on.
Well, that at least they improved. We'll see if it has staying power, and we'll see if they schedule races there in the future.
I believe, I agree with what you said earlier. They're probably going to stick with NARC and maybe do a couple of USAC shows, because to be honest, from what I saw, the USAC show was way better, than the wing show. The wing show was the typical. Even 6 years, 20, 10, 50 years ago, they ran single file, and that's what they did this last week.
Wow.
But the non-wingers were the show.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was there once, and it's tough to pass there. It's big. It's tough to pass for wing cars, and and just hosting a national series event there just doesn't make sense. It's a huge nut to cover. It's just a huge nut. So I don't see them going from not holding races for 6 years to then taking that leap. That just doesn't make sense. So I think if they race there more, it'll be non-wing, it'll be NARC, it'll be something like that. Hopefully they don't run the same weekend as Skagit. I thought that was incredibly stupid, but I don't run the show out there.
Yeah, you're not the only one that thinks like that. I mean, they could have had a really good show, even with the terrible track, but they couldn't work it out for some reason. And, it was funny to see a guy that ran Skagit was not having luck. He drove 16 hours to run Calistoga and win both nights.
Not surprised at all.
Yeah. Well, I have a comment. You were talking about the virtual flagman.
Yep.
I don't like it, Save it for when the sprint cars are like the Jetsons, they're flying around with no wheels. Then we can get a virtual flagman. I agree with you. That's an extra set of eyes and an extra set of experience, and without, you're really cutting yourself short, especially if the race director's trying to be the flagman and the race director and the scorekeeper at the same time.
Well, I've seen the flagman be the race director, and that's happened here a number of times. So I understand what you're saying, and I don't think it's going anywhere, though. Not at it. I think they're happy with it.
Well, to each their own, I guess. Thanks for taking my call. Talk to you next week.
No problem, Will. Thank you. All right. What else do we got? We got Will in there. Any 358, 360 drivers you'd like to see move up to 410? Oh. Yeah, half of California. I can't think of any off the top of my head because, the best 360 guy right now is Sam Haferteep, and he runs 410 at times. So I can't, unless there's a young guy, I can't, there's nobody that jumps off the page to me who isn't in 410 right now. Freedom is going to be a massive wild card this Friday. Never had a 410 show there, and points getting super tight. Yeah, look, the All-Stars, again, like I said earlier, I think they're having a solid first year. They didn't overextend themselves, not getting out of the comfort zone of the teams who signed up to run the series. They put on good races. Again, Casey Jedrzejek came from 10th this week at Wayne County. They don't have the stars like, Brad, David, Kofoid, Macedos. They don't have those guys. But you know what? These could be your guys of the future. Again, there's many instances where guys have moved up. Guys who came out of, remember the Gum Out series with the World of Outlaws, or came out of All-Stars and did well with the Outlaws. So I think the All-Stars have done a good job. And yeah, look, the Outlaws point battle, some stuff needs to happen for that to be competitive. And I think High Limit and the All-Stars are probably the best point battles going in the country right now. So I know NARC is somewhat close, but again, that's based on who runs all the races. So, that doesn't really do it for me. So I'd say those two definitely have the best point battles going. You may not be able to say, but are there any big contenders to land Donnie next season? Yeah, look, there's a lot of stuff going around. In fact, before I jumped on the show, I was on a phone conversation where somebody said something to me about where he could go. So I'll probably talk to Donnie in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, and try and nail something down. So I'm not going to say where those cars are because, they have drivers now. I'm just not going to start something. But it's definitely an ongoing thing, and there's probably about 3 or 4 rumors out there. Did Sheldon NOS sponsorship sway Woo's decision? I can't answer that. I legitimately don't know. Sometimes, and look, I'm definitely not sticking up for either side, but I think sometimes there's things we don't see very often, and then when they come up, they don't know what to do or how to handle it. It's not as difficult for me, but I don't run a series. So I do think that it can be difficult. And did it play a role? I don't know. It didn't hurt it. It certainly didn't hurt it. And I do wonder, instead of NOS, take the NOS factor out. I do wonder sometimes, because it's human nature, that the fact that there's another national series to run, does it affect decision making? I'm not saying it did. I'm not saying it didn't. I'm saying it's human nature. So maybe that came into play, or maybe they just didn't. Maybe they talked to the official and he said, don't suspend him. I mean, who knows? I don't know what the talks were behind the scenes. Where do you think Gio will end up? And do you think Timms will jump ship and take or get an offer for a national series? I don't think Timms is going anywhere. And I think he shouldn't go anywhere. He has a good thing going in that 10 car. They run a kind of a pick and choose schedule, and he makes it work. Obviously, the laps at Knoxville helped. Obviously, he has a good rapport with Shane Liebig, both as an owner and a crew chief. I think that's invaluable for the success of a team. I've talked about this many times. It's very situational. And I think if you're in a good situation, you stay in that situation. They don't come along very often. As for Gio, I think there's a chance Gio stays where he's at. There's the hot rumor out there, obviously, is about another 7BC team. So, if I was to bet on it now, that's what I would say. Because I've not heard about him going anywhere else. I know he's probably fielded calls, though, because, it's just got to play the field, make a smart decision. Is Logan Rumsey on your radar yet? Yes. Kid seems to hang out in the top 10 every time he races a 410 with limited starts. Yeah, he has 2 top 5s in here. I was doing my stats today. The 3rd place finish the other night. Obviously, it was 4th, but Torgerson was DQ'd. But no, Logan Rumsey, I think, has some talent. And I think we see a couple guys in Pennsylvania. It's not California, where, it seems like you're 15. That's their young. But we're starting to have some guys. And I think Logan Rumsey, I think resources, there's a lot of things that come into play there to help him advance. Does he get a shot with another team? Does his family? I mean, these are all questions that have to be answered. But what I see right now, I think Logan Rumsey looks really good. I like what I see and he doesn't do stupid stuff. Even those mistakes that teenagers make once in a while, but not many. So I think there's a guy to watch in the future. Donnie to the KKR9. I don't see that happening either. Here's the other. Donnie's not going to run high limit. There's no way. So I think that takes the 9 out of the equation right off the bat without even, going down the rabbit hole of thinking about it. What is the lightest car you remember failing at the scales? Whew. I'll tell you what, the 13 pounds is pretty close. I've heard of 5, 6, 7, 13. That's a miss. It's 2 gallons of fuel. It's 2 gallons of fuel. 6.6 pounds per gallon, I believe it is. 6.5, 6.6. So you're looking at 2 gallons. Jeremy, are there PA sprint car fans that go to every 410 race every weekend, or do people just stick to home track? No, there's people who go to as many as they can. Now, obviously, Saturday night, they're not going to Port and Lincoln. But yeah, no, there's fans here who go to every track, who I see every week. It's a passionate base. It's really passionate base. So, yeah, no, definitely. What has Brian Monteith been up to? Last I checked, he had that landscaping company. Is the last thing I heard. Doesn't really go to the races. So when he was done, he was done. He was done. That's it. So, all right, what else do we got? If Brown isn't cleared, I could see him putting a crew guy, Devin Brenneman, in the car before he left to be a crew guy. He did race a couple of times at Port. I mean, that's some good info. Sticking him in at the Tuscarora 50 is ballsy. It's ballsy. So I don't know. I don't know what he'll do. That's why I'll call him. Why did Lincoln farm the track for an hour to run the most boring feature in history? This is why people say, okay, first off, it was not the most boring race in history. Your history must be a lot lower than my history, because I saw one at Path Valley that made Lincoln look like the best race ever. And that was Path Valley. It was the night Chad Kavanaugh won. It was all around the bottom. So it was not the worst race in history. They had to do something. It was a total, and I'm not a track prep guy. I mean, I was standing near track prep guys or guys who know more about it than I do. They thought they should have cut it lower or went deeper. But I mean, look, at that point, when you rubber up in the first heat race, this is what I do know. It gets hard and tough to bring it back. They brought it back for probably about 10, 15 laps, and then it started to migrate down, and we all saw what happened. Again, I don't think the owners at Lincoln Speedway or Fred Putney woke up in the morning and said, you know what, we're going to screw the fans and we're going to screw the drivers. Now, granted, again, nobody wants to see that, and they'll probably take some heat over it, but Lincoln doesn't rubber up a lot. And Saturday's race was good. So, but they had to farm it. They had to do something. And the fact that they only had one person on the track who was actually doing the farming, that's why it took 65 minutes. Some other tracks have multiple guys on the tracks, like Peevely. They could knock it out in 20 minutes because they have multiple pieces of equipment. BAPS, I've seen BAPS rework a track in roughly 20 minutes, but they could have Colton on the tiller and they could have another guy on it. So I think some of it was they only had Fred Putney working on the track as far as digging it up. So that was a problem as well. But Lincoln traditionally doesn't do that for their 410s. I don't see that very often there, hardly at all, in their defense. All right, what else do we got? Come on, I know we have more than that. Will Votto get over 25 cars with the Owls? Ooh. I don't know. I think that's a rough sell. I think they could get 23. I think 23 is my number for Votto. All right. Any open seats in PA over the off season? Not yet. Things happen a little slower here because they're local teams. So we don't see the positioning where, you still got to purchase your equipment early, but you're not purchasing the same volume as the national team. So I think we don't see that as quick. There's some that I speculate, but kind of lower end, we'll see. I could see a scenario of the 17 leaving the Woo and running high limit. Maybe. I know we've seen a lot of stuff online from the marshals. They like what high limit's doing. I think Ricky Stenhouse also comes obviously into play when it comes to that decision. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know if it's easy to say you leave, but what's the pack? And again, this goes back to what are the Outlaws put in place to match High Limit? That's the question. I've called and asked, and I've yet to get an answer. So I don't know if it's double secret probation or what. I don't know why nothing's been released yet. So I think that could kind of sway teams as to what way to go. Do you predict Sanders winning a race in the 14? Huh. I'm just running the tracks through my head that he's going to. Sure. I was right about the West Coast stuff. I said he'd win 2, and he did. Or I said he'd win more than the 1 he did. Some will dismiss the prelim, but I don't. I think Lernerville's his best shot. He was good at Lernerville in the 39M. I think I'm not one of these guys that thinks he's not good on big tracks either. I think that's a load of bunk. I think he could go to Texas and win. I absolutely believe he could go to Texas and win. So I'm going to say he contends for a win. Not ready to say he's going to win. If it was, I just think the 87 fit him. I don't know if the 14 does, but I do know this. That car likes when you gas it up. and Justin Sanders can gas it up. So I wouldn't be surprised if he wins at Lernerville. I will be at Lernerville taking that in. From Rumor Avenue, Sanders full-time series next year is a possibility. I mean, I can see him getting a lot of calls. I think Justin is not going to go out there and put himself in a bad situation. And honestly, I think more people should do the same thing he does. He looks at it. He wants to be in the best position possible for success. Here's the other thing. He has a business in California. If he's not going to make more money on the road, why give up the business in California? You know, he's in his early 30s. He's not going to put himself in a situation where there's going to be problems with the crew chief after, 15 races, or there's arguing or it just doesn't fit. It really is going to have to be the right situation. Are there some out there that could be that? Sure. And if I was a team courting Justin Sanders, I would listen to him. What components does he want? Travel. I know he does want to get back. He doesn't want to, just be out in the road stuck. I mean, he has a new wife. I mean, I think there's conditions, and I think it needs to be the right situation, and it's got to make financial sense. And he isn't going out there to lose. I applaud Justin for not wanting to go out there and just bump around and pay his dues, so to speak. He's out there to win. So, I don't know. I think it's probably 40-60 right now, because I just don't know if the right situation is out there. Will Brad Sweet have a solid weekend in PA? Port Royal's, it's hit or miss. He won one last year, but it's hit or miss in here. Rico definitely gets an opportunity to pad his point lead at Port Royal. He's better than Brad. And I mean, Rico Aber Racing's better than the KKR combination at Port Royal. No doubt about that. I don't think Brad would say otherwise right now. So it's a big weekend for Brad. Huge weekend for Brad. Why did Monteith retire? I think I did an interview with him once, and he stated that when he got a certain age, that was it. I think wasn't having fun anymore, family, so on and so forth. That was it. And Brian Monteith's always been a guy who, again, he doesn't back down from a decision. When he makes it, it's made. So that was it. Throw comments about high limit aside. Is there a real possibility that Brian Carter cuts a deal with a team to keep Donnie with Wu? That's a dangerous precedent to start if you do that. I don't think so. Here's the thing about the Outlaws. Remember, over the last year and a half, they've been pushing other people. Gio was really pushed when you saw ads and you saw videos and you saw things that were going on. Gio was a part of it. The Outlaws realized they got to get younger. And they are young. Their series is young, but who they pushed to the masses, they got younger. And I just don't think I don't think Carter would do that. I don't think it benefits the series. Jeremy, are you in an agreement that the Lincoln announcer is the best announcer in history? No. Best announcer in history? In history. History's a long time. I have nothing against Wayne, but in history? What is your opinion on the recent back injuries? Young drivers with another. Okay. Well, I had some conversations recently about this, and I've heard things about the bolts, that there's too much give. Obviously a lot of people like the chasm system, the seat thing, the chasm, I believe it's chasm. I don't know. Some people blame the new seats, the new containment seats. Some people blame, obviously, those impacts where you come down on all fours. And these are the ones where you're not run into by somebody, obviously. Single car. I mean, I really don't know. I am not a doctor. I've heard a lot of different things, from the size of the bolts in the seats that people are using, the seats themselves. I've heard about, obviously, the give, no give with the seat, where it's sitting in the car. Again, that's kind of, I can only go by what guys are saying. That's above my pay grade a little bit, in the sense of, for me to, again, I can only go by what people are saying. And I've heard a lot of different things. I think it's a lot of things in the pit area, like a lot of things in the pit area. There's different opinions. There's varying opinions on what's causing it. "1A run high limit next year." I heard this recently. I don't know if Jacob Allen wants to do that. I do know Ashton Torgerson will be their driver. I did an interview with him a few weeks ago at Port Royal, and they both said they were going to run this back. So, I just don't know if Jacob has a family now. I don't know if Jacob wants to go on the road that much. I think he likes running around here. It would surprise me a little bit if he went high limit racing. Not saying he won't, because I have heard some kind of rumbling about it, but I don't know. I think he likes the family life. Is Jimmy Carr back with TSR? I have not heard that. I have not heard that Jimmy Carr's back. I know he was let go by Selzy. Apparently, Gary Selzy let him go. So we had a story from Joseph Terrell on that. But I have not heard that he's back at TSR. I think that would require him moving back to Indiana. I don't know if he wants to do that. Rumors are a deep dive with Steve Post is coming soon. Not that I know of. I mean, he's definitely on the list, but that list is pretty long. So I don't know if we'll get to one this week because of the holiday, and just nobody's going to listen to it if it's Thursday of the Tuscarora 50. I've kind of been selective more with when I put this out. So I think we'll probably wait till next week. Tyler Thompson. Hey, Chase, how are you? Tyler Thompson had a $20,000 plus weekend at Skagit. Impressive run considering the circumstances with the car, engine, driver. Yeah, I mean, again, here's a California guy who, he was in the NARC point battle when he split with Maine. So, yeah, Tyler Thompson showed me something this week, just jumping in another car and going and having a good performance. Tyler Thompson's stock went up a lot at Skagit. I know Joseph Terrell had a lot about him in notebooks from Skagit. And yet, I think Tyler Thompson's a name that if you're a sprint car fan and you're watching, if you're interested in California racing, I think Tyler Thompson's a guy you definitely want to watch. Are you tired of Gravel, Kofoid, and Carson on the podium almost every race? No. I like dominance. They're the three best guys. Well, I don't get tired of, and here's the other thing, they're beating each other. I think that's key too. They're mixing it up, and it's not like Kofoid's winning all of them or Gravel's winning all of them or Macedo had a good little run there. And now they're going to go to California. And Carson was really good there last year. And Buddy was really good there last year. David's got to catch up a little bit in California. I think he didn't shine. It kind of had a little bit of a lull last year. I'm anxious to see him. They're not out there very long. I'm anxious to see how this goes over the next couple of weeks. So I think it's a good thing. What was it like watching the legendary Dan Dietrich race? Interesting. Dan was he was one of those mid-level guys from a financial standpoint and sometimes lower buck, and he got the most out of it. But no, Dan was fun to watch. I like dominance. Still a Cowboys fan. Well, they suck. But I like the Micah Parsons trade. I have no problem with it. The only thing I don't like is how it got to that point. That's all. I would have traded him pre-draft. But I covered Micah Parsons in high school. I covered some of his games. He went to high school in Harrisburg, which I lived in Harrisburg when I worked at the newspaper. So covered some of his games. He takes some plays off. He had some problems in the one school district. I'm not going to get into that. And I believe people don't change their stripes like that. Not when you're high profile. I think I think sometimes he wants to be a podcaster more than he wants to be a player, a great player. He's not Lawrence Taylor. I know the honks on television want to say he's this, he's that. He's not TJ Watt, and he's not Myles Garrett either. I watched him play Green Bay in the playoffs. He had 2 tackles, and they were the most meaningless tackles ever, and they got blown out. Sorry. Great play. He's good player, great player. You can say great player, but he's not Lawrence Taylor like everybody wants to comp him as. So get rid of him. I'm good with it. What is your go-to food for Fair Week? It's the church stand. Hell, you're there all day. You got to eat something. Turkey dinner, ham dinner. Do you think Sandy will field the 22 again next year? Yes. In fact, I talked to her about it on Friday night. So yes, I fully expect the 22 to be back. 41 to high limit. Again, I think I heard that going around for a while, and I thought maybe it could happen, but if the Outlaws put a good package together, I don't think so. The one hang up with going to high limit is the whole franchise thing. Do you have to wait 2 years to get the quote unquote big money? So I think that could be a problem, but I mean, we'll see. It's some of it could depend what the Outlaws put together. Why is PPM never mentioned for a national rides? I think he would even tell you some performances were sporadic. He qualifies really well. He's a good qualifier. I think now as well, and I have a story that I'm going to run over the next couple days. I think he's really enjoying what he's doing. He likes getting home. I think he has a girlfriend / fiance, and he was able to do. I just think it's getting to the point where some of these guys don't want to trek up and down the road all the time and be in rides that really don't produce results. So I'm hearing more and more of that. So Dave on line 2. Dave, how are you?
Hey, Jeremy. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing okay.
At Port Royal, they're running one more show and then they're done for the year.
They have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, high limit. Then they're done.
And that's it for them?
And that's it for the year. Smart move.
It just seems like with all the rainouts they had early in the year that there's probably at least another month of racing they could go to. It seems like they shut down awful early.
Well, think about it this way. Penn State, they're closer to State College. Penn State takes a lot of fans away. High school football is going on Saturdays as well in this area. I think there's a lot. I think they looked at the financials in past years and it didn't make sense. I actually like that they're done in September. I think if you're going to end on a big event, perfect.
Yeah. With the fella there got caught light up the scales, and they said he had like a gallon of fuel in his fuel tank.
Yep.
He pretty much would have been done with one more yellow flag. He just about would have been out of gas on that deal.
Yeah, him and Danny Dietrich. Danny Dietrich only had 3 gallons left. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's probably other guys using 28-gallon tanks. And if you were full tilt, like Macri, I don't know because he pulled in after the incident in which he spun. And I think he was 5 laps from the finish. So I don't know how much he had or would have had. I mean, I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, Torgerson was lucky to finish it all. And probably some other guys as well.
What did they give him like a 24th place finish? They take his money away too.
He was awarded 24th.
No money, no first place money.
No. $10,000 went to Aaron Bollinger.
That's sad. Guys need to start running those big tanks, man. I'm telling you.
Well, normally they run a 30-gallon tank. Jacob Allen told me they pulled a car down that Tanner Holmes ran a couple years ago, and they just didn't switch out the fuel cell. That's what he told me after the races.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay, buddy. That's all I got for you. Thank you, sir. Good show.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate it.
See you.
Yep. All right. Let's knock out some more. Jeremy, have you ever watched the kids? Get out of here. No, I do not. No, I don't. I'm in and I'm out, buddy. I'm not hanging around. I got work to do. I'm watching pigs. Where's Tyler Walker? Was really hoping for an epic comeback to a man that's conquered real demons. I do not know what he's doing. I've heard two different things, and I'm not even going to speculate on it because, yeah, I mean, that's kind of a thing where I don't want to say the wrong thing. It has to do with HIPAA in some cases, depending what his situation is. But I never expected an epic comeback. I just didn't. My thought is that he's going to be an addict the rest of his life. That's anybody who deals with that stuff. It doesn't go away. I know people who were alcoholics and have been sober 15, 20 years, and they say, I'm an alcoholic still. So I don't think that I didn't expect an epic comeback. And I didn't like the comeback. I didn't like the way it was done. To me, you come back, no fanfare. You just do your business. Hey, we're going to do the best we can. It was a shit show. I don't mean to be, but it looked like a block party over in the pit. It just wasn't right. And I don't think it was right for his situation. I don't think he got good advice. Not that I know everything, but it just wasn't what it should have been for what he was trying to do. Robert on line 3. Robert, what you got?
Good evening. Is this Jeremy?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I had a few things for you. Hello, by the way.
Yep. How you doing?
The 90 at 9, the driver's eyes through the helmet. Which driver is that?
It's Brent Marks.
Brent Marks.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it might be somebody else.
Nope, Brent Marks.
I've got a couple other things for you. Danny Sams. I think he ought to go back to the All-Stars next year in 2026.
I agree. I think he bit off a lot this year. I thought he should have run the All-Stars this year and just raced as many big shows. He could just kind of like Emerson Axum did. If he wanted to run a series, run All-Stars, do well there. Obviously, he had a good showing at Ohio Speed Week last year. And I just think, look, traveling the country, and not having a bunch of motors, and it's just a big undertaking. And I thought they definitely should have done the All-Stars. I agree with you.
Yeah, I agree on that too. And then I was at a Benton, Missouri Sunday night, 410 wing sprint car race, and
Yep.
Sammy Swindell won that night.
Yep.
In the Paul Hart 44 car. It's out of Western Tennessee.
Yep.
And they only had 14 cars, but Power Ride was over in Lake of Ozarks.
Right.
So that probably took a couple cars away.
Yeah, probably some decent cars.
And then my weekend come up, I'm going to Granite City, Illinois, Friday night, Power Ride 410 and USAC non-wing on the same night.
Oh, okay. By the way, I think Danny
Just a good show in
Sams.
there.
I think Danny Sams could have run Power Eye, and it would have been good.
Yeah. And then then I'm going back to Benton, Missouri Saturday night to watch Power Ride 410. They all have quite a few cars down there. So.
Yep. No. Seems like you're a fan of Power Eye.
Yeah, I'm in the Midwest. I'm in Southern Illinois. So yeah.
Yep. No, I again, you brought up Sams. I think that would have been. I think that could have been a good landing spot for him as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I had for you. So thank you for your time.
No problem. You take care and enjoy your races.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, Steve on line 5. Steve, what do you got?
Hello, Jeremy.
Yes.
Last week when we were talking about the Tognati 18 at Chico, and I said it was a good looking car, and you just thought, I think you were under the impression that it was running okay, but I did some history on it, and that's kind of a throwback color, and the original owner ran it for like 26 years, and he had like 97 victories. And the last driver to run that was Hank Butcher.
I think, how long ago was that?
Oh, it was quite a while ago. Hank Butcher's been retired for a long time, but
Yeah.
yeah, it ran for like 26 years. That's probably back in the 80s stuff.
Yeah, that was probably a little before my time from traveling and keeping track of stuff across the country.
Yeah, I'm 70. I used to live near the Baylands Raceway and watch Jimmy Stills and
Yep.
and Gurney race every week.
Oh, okay. Okay, makes sense.
But I live here in Spokane, home of Rudine now.
Oh, okay.
Been here most of my life.
Oh, okay, it makes sense. Okay, good deal.
But yeah, I've seen that car before, and I went, God, that looks good. You know, and I remember it.
Yeah, I definitely like throwback cars more than I like even the cars today. There's too many lines on them. They're not clean.
Yeah, that big number stood out. You know, it looked so good.
Yeah, I like them. Now they look like jigsaw puzzles sometimes.
Yeah, I miss the old sign painters.
Yep.
Okay, Jeremy, that's all I had.
All right,
Love
Steve.
your show.
Yep, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep,
Bye-bye.
take care. All right, we got a couple more, and then I'm going to get out of here. I got to call my daughter. She's in school, so if I don't call her, that won't be good. So we'll do a few more. Have you ever considered doing a book on Davy Brown? I've considered doing a few books. It's a different type of writing. I'm more of a newspaper writer, journalist type thing. Would I like to do it? Yes. Oop. We just lost electricity. How about that? Well, then, that's nice. But I'll do a couple anyway. We just lost electricity, and it's not even raining out. But yeah, no, I've considered doing a few books. This seems weird. It's very intimate. It's almost, but everything went out. So yeah, that's what else we got? We need another hour with the National Treasure Tyler Swank soon. Christmas show. Speaking of Brian Monty, that would be a great deep dive. He's definitely on my list. Don't worry. He was always fun to talk to. Very matter of fact. I like loud. I heard Jeremy Hitchcock. Yeah. QAnon. Jeremy needs SprintCarUnlimited memberships to pay the utilities. No, my TV went out. The lights in my kitchen went out. Everything went out except this. Luckily, I have battery power. Get the candles. We're going to QAnon predicted the PA power outage. Yeah. All right. What else do we have? Your show's like a narc race. Maybe I'll do the show like this every week and I'll put candles and it'll be like some kind of, I'm a big Alfred Hitchcock guy. So maybe I'll do that. Has Wu ever promoted a non-wing show? Would enjoy a 2-day race with Friday a Wu non-wing race and Saturday a normal race. I mean, back in the day, I don't think that's something they want to get into, just even from an insurance standpoint. So I don't see that happening. Looks like the Sprint Car Limited 90 at 9 p.m. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I wonder if I wonder if somebody hit a pole or something near my apartment complex. It's odd. My microphone works because it's plugged into my laptop and it's feeding off power there. So Jeremy Elliott after dark. Yeah. Drivers that take provisionals, do they get paid money or is it just points? Like if someone from the provisional spot wins, it's their start. It's wherever they finish minus start money. So you have to get up a certain number of positions to get in the money. So let's just throw a number out there. It's $1,000 to start, and you get up to 10th, and it's $2,000. You'll get $1,000. Jeremy, it is weird that dirt tracks sponsor national teams. Imagine if NASCAR's peak Earnhardt was sponsored by Daytona and Gordon by Bristol. I think it's Busch League. Well, the problem is there's not as much money in sprint car racing or dirt track racing as there is these other forms of racing. So if a guy owns a car, he's going to put his track on it. Todd Quiring's who you're talking about, obviously, and Mike Hefner. Now, Mike Hefner does not have Lincoln Speedway on his car. He used to have Selinsgrove, though, and he was a promoter there. But I think it's just a case of, look, you own a car, I'm just going to put my track on it. I mean, who knows why, I don't know. Yeah, Skagit as well. You're right. Skagit. All right. What else do we got? Do we have anything else? Big Diamond ran or last show of the year because of high school football. They always end Labor Day Sunday. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to beat football, anything football, unless it's Arena League. And so I do believe that high school football, look, Penn State's huge here. Huge. I mean, that's 110,000 people every time they're at home. And it draws from the racing crowd. So I don't blame tracks for looking at their bottom line, their cost analysis, and deciding to shut it down. Just saw Kofoid running the Pigden 7 for High Limit International. It's a car that Macedo ran last year, shaping up to be a good field down there this year. I like that Chase Robin's promoting. I like that he's promoting the Australian events. So, no, that's good. Look, getting Buddy Kofoid down under to run that event, that's a good get. And it just adds to the event, especially with the season he's had. Jeremy could have paid electric bill if he sold merch. I was walking up. No, I got to say, I was walking up the bleachers at the Grove this past week, and people were asking me to sell merch. And I'll say it again. I'm just afraid to take the plunge because I don't want to get stuck with it. And people say they'll buy, but will they really buy? So I don't know. Maybe I'll put out a 90 at 9 shirt or something like that. We'll see. A lot of possibilities in the off season. I will buy a Sprint Car Unlimited shirt if it helps pay the electric. I paid my electric bill. Trust me. It's always something at SprintCarUnlimited.com. It's like an arc race, like you said. All right, that's a wrap on the show. Thank you very much for sticking with me. Sorry about the electric. I don't know what. Maybe I'll go outside and see if somebody hits something. And again, we'll be back next week. And look for SprintCarUnlimited.com coverage of the Tuscarora 50, both on YouTube and on the website. And again, we'll be back next Tuesday. Stay tuned.